Hey, what's up?
I'm not going pretty well. So this is the 10th year of Throwback Weekend, and I know you haven't been here for all of them, but I'm kind of curious. I'm sure you've seen some of the talk on social media about maybe it's losing its luster a little bit. I'm curious where you stand on that. Do you feel like it's lost its spark over time?
It's definitely run its course. I feel like like we've had so many of them. It's really hard to get between 40 cars, like you cover most of the paint schemes at some point. So, I think maybe it's something where you bring it back every few years, or you maybe you go to different racetracks or something. Like I know the NBA, NHL, and NFL, they all have some sort of throwback time period, but it seems like it changes around a little bit. So maybe it's just getting a bit repetitive.
Going off of that, you're throwing back to Jeff Gordon's final start scheme. Do you have any memories from watching that scheme race and just being in that year?
Yeah, well, I was right in the middle of my racing career, so I was trying to get to Cup, and I was in the K&N series at the time. So for me personally, just watching that was a big deal. Lewis Hamilton was there. It was just a huge event. Watching Jeff's final race and the fact that he was still in contention for the championship made for a lot of anticipation as a fan. And then he took the lead at one point, and just that car had a lot of energy behind it. So it doesn't feel like too long ago. I told him that it feels like a pretty recent memory. So it was fun to watch.
Joey, this is the 10th year of Throwback Weekend, and I'm sure you've seen some of the talk on social media about maybe it's losing its luster a little bit. I'm kind of curious on where you stand on that. Do you feel like it's lost its spark over time?
I hope that doesn't happen. I really do, because I said it here earlier that the Throwback Weekend is a way for us to honor our pioneers of our sport. It's not about it being cool or not, right? I mean, is it cool? I think so. But to me, it's talking about the pioneers of our sport that we would not talk about any other way, right? Like, were we going to talk about Cale Yarborough much this weekend? I mean, this is his home track. Maybe it would have come up a couple times, but not that much. But the fact that we're running his car, it's come up a lot. And you honor the guys that built the sport for you, right? Like for us, all of us, you standing here at the camera, or people watching it on the other end, for me standing here, like it's important for us to remember that, because in so many times in sports, so quickly, when a driver retires or an athlete retires from the sport, they ride off in the sunset and they get forgotten about quickly. But the Throwback Weekend is really what brings that back to life. And I know those guys think it's cool to see their car back on the racetrack. There's no doubt that to see the paint scheme's cool, but I think for the young fan, it's even more important. Yep.
Alex, we're entering the 10th straight year of Throwback Weekend. I'm sure you've seen some of the talk on social media about some folks saying that it's lost its luster. Yeah. I'm curious on where you stand on that.
I think it's tough, right? Like, from my point of view, like, the small teams probably do it the best, but they just have so much more freedom, probably, to do whatever they want than a lot of the big teams do. So, it sucks to see some people be like, oh, that's a weak attempt, or you guys didn't put anything into this, because they don't have a clue about what all goes into to get stuff approved and stuff like that. So, the small teams have been crushing it, which has been really cool to see. And it's tough, right? Like, there's only so many schemes that you're going to be able to get approved with colors or branding or whatever. And then that pool gets smaller and smaller and smaller. I think Throwback Weekend's awesome. It's just hard to get it perfect every time. And 10 years into it, right, we're kind of narrowing the pool down quite a bit.
From that standpoint of somebody who doesn't know about the marketing, doesn't know about the sponsorship standpoint of it, I know you kind of bought into it and we don't have a whole lot of time, but can you describe a little bit how tough that actually is to nail down a paint scheme and get everyone approved?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think any paint scheme, like regular schemes throughout the year, like the layers of approval processes that stuff has to go through, it's not like the driver and crew chief sit down and draw it out on paper and that's what we go to the racetrack with, right? There's a lot of people involved on the team side and on the partner side. Ally honestly has been awesome when it comes to this weekend. They kind of let us do whatever we want color-wise, and they've been great on the flexibility there. But I think just looking around the garage, like, it's tough for a company that has a set of colors to not have that set of colors on the race car that they're paying so much money to have their name on. So Yeah, it's different for everybody, but it is cool to see what the small teams can do with that added kind of layer of freedom that they have.
Hopkins for Frontstretch. Chase, I'm sure you've seen some of the talk on social media about Throwback Weekend perhaps losing its luster a little bit, and I'm curious on where you stand on that. Do you feel like, I know you haven't been in the Cup Series for very long, but do you feel like the Throwback Weekend has kind of lost its spark over time?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess that there's less paint schemes this week than normal. But if you look at the Xfinity Series, there's probably more than ever. So I still think, there's a ton of buy-in still. I think it's hard with anything. Anytime you do something for a long time, like, not that it loses its luster, but it's not as exciting, right, as the first time or the second time. So I think just trying to find ways to keep it exciting, it's just hard, right? Like, you run out of things to change after you do it for a while. But for me, it's something that I love about this weekend. Every time you come here, there's that old school feel. But then when you walk in the garage and you see old paint schemes and stuff, it's a cool part of the whole weekend. So yeah, I don't have a throwback this weekend. This is the first time I've never ran one. But I don't feel like this weekend has really lost its luster. I think that the fans still love the paint schemes that are here. And just anytime you come to Darlington, it's kind of got an old school throwback feel, whether we're Throwback Weekend or not.
Sure. But this is the 10th year of the Throwback Weekend, and I'm sure you've seen some of the debate.
Played out about 5 years now, since I'm glad we don't participate. The cars look cool, but move on to something different.
So with that said, I mean, is it outgrown its luster now?
For sure. For me, personally. I know it's probably cool for the fans to go back and remember some days and stuff, but for me, it's run its course. Doesn't mean it needs to stop, but I'm just on the side of where we don't need to participate. So if we do, we do. It's okay. Not the end of the world.
How are you personally, Eric didn't really have much to say about it, but how are you personally looking to block out the noise with the news that was announced this week with the lawsuit?
I'm disconnected, man.
Okay.
And then could you just talk about your paint scheme this week a bit, how much it means to you, your family?
Yeah, I think being able to run kind of the Bell South scheme there is super iconic. It was one of my favorite paint schemes as a kid growing up. I think it's neat that my dad got his first Cup win in the 42 in the Bell South scheme as well. And honestly, it's paying tribute to what he's been able to do in this sport and what he's given this sport, and really what he's been able to accomplish. So it's neat to be able to do that and have that same last name and kind of continue on that tradition.
This is Custom Patch Hats. But what makes us custom? Well, that actually begins with you. We're just bringing your unique vision to life. No knockoffs, no lookalikes. Your design is one of a kind. We know hats, we know design, and we know quality. The proof? It's in our production. Hand-stitched with precision and care, with brands you know and trust. A one-of-a-kind patch deserves a one-of-a-kind treatment, all the way to your doorstep. It's how we keep it custom.
Jared Haas with Frontstretch.com. Come back soon for more great racing videos. And if you like us, make sure to hit that subscribe button.